Your entire life can change with one decision: to stop staying silent and start asking for what you deserve. Most people wait, hoping the world will notice them, and that's why they stay stuck. This audiobook is not about luck. It's about power psychology and boldness. If you're tired of living small, press play, because your future begins the moment you dare to ask. Before we dive in, take a second to hit that like button and let us know in the comments where you're listening from. You might be surprised to find someone listening from the same place as you. This audiobook is a training ground for that skill. You will learn how to walk through the fog of hesitation, ease the sting of rejection, and dismantle the invisible approvals you have spent years chasing. We will examine the mind's reflexes around risk, how it rehearses criticism before anything happens, how old memories prime your breath to shorten and your voice to shrink. Then we will reprogram those loops. You will stop living in polite silence and start creating real outcomes. The art of asking is not luck. It is disciplined psychology, a mind trained to name its aim, a mouth trained to form precise sentences, a body trained to stay steady while truth is spoken. Your life will only rise to the height of your ability to ask. When you can stand in your own worth and make a clean request, the world has something solid to answer. Alongside psychology, we will engage the science of attention and energy. What you believe about your worth tunes your brain's reticular activating system, the filter that decides what you notice and how you interpret it, so that opportunities once invisible become legible. Your nervous system learns safety by experience. Repeated small successful asks tell the amygdala, there is no fire here, only growth. On the spiritual plane, intention and language must cohere. People hear your words, but they feel your field. When your inner state contradicts your request, when the mouth says, I'm ready, and the energy whispers, I'm afraid, you transmit static. Our work is to reduce that static, bringing belief, breath posture, and phrasing into alignment, so the signal of your ask travels clean. We will also turn outward with intelligence and care. You will learn to read how others think before you approach them, to respect their values, their bandwidth, their decision style, so your request meets the right mind at the right moment. You will practice reframing, no from condemnation into navigation, a directional arrow that refines timing, offer, or audience. You will become precise, trading hints and soft spirals for honest sentences that respect everyone's time, and you will curate your environments, attending to the rooms and relationships that honor your voice over those that punish it. This is not about becoming loud. It is about becoming clear. Not manipulation, but integrity. Not performance, but coherence. Today you will ask for something small and real. You will breathe steady yourself and speak it plainly. You will accept the response without collapsing, act on what it teaches, and ask again tomorrow. Do this long enough, and asking becomes as natural as breath. Your life begins to resemble your deepest standard, not by accident, but by the quiet, courageous insistence of a mind and spirit aligned. Chapter 1. Train your mind to believe you deserve more. Every transformation begins not with external effort, but with the silent revolution inside your own mind. The distance between where you are and where you wish to be is often not measured in talent, resources, or luck, but in belief. If deep down you are convinced that you are undeserving of more respect, more abundance, more love, then no amount of action will sustain lasting change. The universe does not give according to your potential. It gives according to your permission. And that permission is granted in the privacy of your own thoughts. Your thoughts shape the boundaries of your life, because they dictate the choices you are willing to make and the risks you are willing to take. When your internal dialogue whispers, "I'm not enough," you subconsciously shrink your behavior to match that belief. You speak softly. You avoid opportunities. You make yourself smaller to avoid disappointment. And in doing so, you create a reality that confirms the very doubt that built it. Neuroscience calls this a self-fulfilling cognitive loop. When a belief is repeated often enough, your brain's reticular activating system, the network that filters information, begins to highlight evidence that supports it while ignoring anything that contradicts it. If you think you're unworthy, you'll notice rejection more than praise. If you believe you don't deserve more, you'll rationalize staying where you are rather than pursuing something greater. Your mind becomes a courtroom where only one side of the argument is allowed to speak. But belief is not fixed. It is a skill, a muscle, a frequency that can be tuned. And the first act of reclaiming your power is to consciously reprogram the language you use with yourself. The moment you catch your inner voice saying, "I'm not ready," pause and replace it with, "I am growing." When it says, "I'm not capable," replace it with, "I am learning." Each substitution may feel insignificant, but over time, it becomes the architecture of a new identity. Neuroplasticity. The brain's ability to rewire itself ensures that repeated thoughts literally carve new neural pathways, strengthening the belief that you are capable and worthy of more. Spiritual traditions echo this science with timeless wisdom. You cannot attract what you do not believe you are worthy of receiving. Energy responds to resonance. If you hold scarcity, you invite scarcity. If you radiate worthiness, opportunities begin to align. The outer world is a mirror that reflects your inner state, and the courage to ask begins with the courage to believe. Begin this work with small actions that signal to your subconscious that your worth matters. Speak up in meetings. Correct someone gently when they dismiss your needs. Decline what doesn't serve your growth. Each act is a vote for a new reality. With every repetition, your self-image expands, and as it does so too, does the range of what becomes possible for you. The boldness to ask others for more begins with the boldness to tell yourself you deserve it. Until that belief is anchored deep in your consciousness, every request will carry the tremor of doubt. But once it is firm, your words will carry weight, authority, and power, and the world will listen. Chapter 2. Ask without thinking you're a burden. One of the deepest mental prisons people live in is the belief that their needs are an inconvenience. They hold back their requests, not because they don't have them, but because they fear being too much, too demanding, too needy, too selfish. This fear is rarely born in adulthood. It is conditioned early in classrooms where questioning was punished, in families where obedience was praised over expression, or in relationships where one person's comfort mattered more than the other's truth. Over time, the message embeds itself. Silence keeps the peace. Asking causes problems. This is a lie and a dangerous one. Asking is not a disruption. It is a form of participation in life. It is how you build bridges, deepen relationships, create solutions, and accelerate growth. Without it, you deny others the chance to understand you, support you, or even connect with you meaningfully. When you silence your needs, you rob those around you of the opportunity to rise to them. Think of the human ecosystem like a living network, a mycelium of give and receive, offer and request. If one part of that network stops signaling, the entire system weakens. Society, families, organizations, they all function on the exchange of needs and resources. Asking is how that circulation continues. Far from being selfish, a clear ask can be a gift. It provides direction, creates purpose, and allows others to contribute in ways they otherwise couldn't. The science of social dynamics supports this. Humans are wired for reciprocity, the natural impulse to respond to a request with support or cooperation. This is not manipulation. It's how our species survived. When you express a need, you activate this cooperative circuitry in others. And when your request is clear, calm, and respectful, most people are far more willing to help than your fear imagines. But there's a deeper, subtler layer here, one that belongs to the spiritual realm. To believe that asking is a burden is at its core. To believe that your existence is a burden. That belief sends a powerful, energetic message: I am not worthy of receiving. And the universe, always responding to the signals you emit, mirrors that message back. Opportunities bypass you, support remains hidden. Doors stay closed, not because they were never available, but because you never knocked. It's time to rewrite that belief. Understand that asking is not weakness, it is responsibility. Responsible people do not sit quietly hoping others will read their minds. They step forward with clarity. They say, here is where I am. Here is what I need. This is not an act of taking, it is an act of alignment. It aligns resources with purpose, skills, with needs and intentions with outcomes. The next time you hesitate to ask for help, pause and reframe it. You are not bothering someone. You are giving them the chance to step into their own capacity for generosity, collaboration, or leadership. You are giving the relationship, whether personal or professional, a chance to evolve. And you are giving yourself permission to live a life shaped by conscious participation rather than passive endurance. If you still feel resistance, begin small. Ask a colleague for their opinion. Ask a friend for a small favor. Ask a mentor for 5 minutes of their time. Each time you do, notice how the world doesn't collapse, how more often than not, people respond with willingness. That willingness is proof that you were never a burden. The only weight you were carrying was the illusion that you were. Release it. Speak clearly, and trust that your voice and your needs have a rightful place in the conversation. Chapter 3. Speak your needs even when you're nervous. Nervousness is the body's way of protecting you, but protection is not always aligned with progress. When you prepare to ask for something important, raise support, understanding, clarity. Your chest may tighten, your voice may tremble, your palms may sweat. These are not signs of weakness. They are signals from your nervous system designed to keep you safe from rejection, judgment, or conflict. Yet what the body calls danger is often only discomfort. And discomfort is not a stop sign. The truth is simple. You can be nervous and still speak. Confidence is not the absence of nerves. It is the ability to act despite them. Every time you silence yourself to avoid that flutter in your chest, you train your brain to equate asking with danger. Every time you speak through the nerves, you teach your system the opposite, that you can survive, adapt, and even thrive while your heart is racing. This is neuroplasticity in action. The more you practice speaking through fear, the more your brain rewires itself, and the less intimidating those sensations become. Spiritual traditions remind us that the body is an instrument, not an enemy. The trembling voice is not proof of weakness. It is proof that something meaningful is at stake. When your voice shakes, it is the soul reminding you this matters. And if it matters, then silence is not an option. Silence only breeds resentment, misunderstanding, and self-erasure. So how do you speak when you feel nervous? Start with awareness. Take one breath deeper than usual. Feel your feet against the ground, anchoring yourself to the present moment. Lift your chin slightly, signaling to your own physiology that you are safe enough to speak. Then choose simple, clear words. Nervousness thrives on overthinking. It wants you to search for perfect sentences to rehearse endlessly in your mind. But truth rarely needs perfection. It needs honesty. Say what you mean even if your voice shakes. I need more time. I'd appreciate your feedback. I'd like to be considered for this opportunity. Short, calm, direct sentences carry more strength than polished speeches wrapped in hesitation. And each time you do it, you expand your tolerance for fear. Over time, nervousness loses its power, not because it disappears, but because it no longer controls you. Remember this: people respect honesty more than performance. They may not always agree with what you say, but they will recognize the courage it took to say it. And that courage plants seeds, seeds of trust, seeds of clarity, seeds of self-respect. By speaking your needs even when nervous, you do more than make a request. You affirm your own value. Your voice does not need to be flawless to matter. It only needs to be heard. So the next time your body resists, smile gently at the nerves and step forward anyway. Because nervousness means you care, and caring is never weakness. It is the strongest signal that you are alive, awake, and ready to grow. Chapter 4. Stop waiting for permission. Ask now. Most people live in a holding pattern. They wait for the right timing, the right feeling, or someone else's validation before they dare to act. They wait for their boss to notice their efforts, for their partner to read their mind for life, to deliver an unmistakable green light. But here is the harsh truth: no one is coming to hand you the permission slip you are waiting for. If you delay until you feel ready, you will be waiting forever. Waiting is seductive because it feels safe. It tricks you into believing you are being patient, wise, even humble. In reality, waiting is often fear in disguise. Fear of being seen. Fear of being rejected. Fear of disrupting the comfortable rhythm of your current life. But safety and growth do not exist in the same place. By waiting, you protect your comfort, but you also imprison your potential. Look closely at the world around you. People no smarter, no more talented than you are moving ahead, not because they were granted approval, but because they stepped forward without it. They asked before they felt fully ready. They requested before they had every credential. They claimed their place before anyone else offered it. And life rewarded them, not for perfection, but for initiative. This is the cosmic law of momentum. In physics, an object at rest tends to stay at rest, while an object in motion tends to stay in motion. Human life follows the same principle. When you act, when you ask, you create momentum. That motion attracts attention, opportunity, and energy. But when you remain still, your dreams remain still with you. Understand this: asking is not arrogance. It is an expression of truth. To say, I want this opportunity, I am ready for this role, I need this support, is not to demand the world bend to you. It is to align your words with your inner reality. Spiritual science reminds us that intention has frequency. When you speak your intention aloud, you amplify it in the field around you. Waiting in silence weakens the signal. Asking strengthens it. Yes, you may hear no, but even a no gives you information. It teaches you timing, reveals limits, and redirects your path. Waiting teaches you nothing. Waiting only multiplies regret. Which pain would you rather carry, the sting of rejection or the weight of a silent, untested life? One is temporary. The other is lifelong. So stop waiting for certainty. Stop waiting for validation. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Speak now. Act now. Ask now. Even if your voice is unsure, even if your heart is racing, your future cannot afford another delay. The most dangerous phrase in any life is someday. Replace it with today. Replace it with now. Because the door you are waiting to be opened will never unlock itself. It opens only when you knock. And the courage to knock is yours alone. Chapter 5. Learn how people think before you ask. Most people make the mistake of asking only from their own point of view. They focus on what they want, how much they need it, and how best to phrase it for themselves. But every request lands in someone else's world, a world shaped by their beliefs, fears, priorities, and rhythms. If you want your ask to be effective, you must first learn how that world works. Human beings filter reality through different lenses. Some are logic-driven. They want data, facts, and structure. If you bring them emotion, they hesitate. Others are heart-driven. They need to feel connection, trust, and sincerity. If you overwhelm them with numbers, they tune out. Some people value control. Above all, they resist anything that feels forced. Others value harmony. They will agree outwardly just to avoid conflict, even if inside they mean no. To treat every person the same is to blindfold yourself before knocking on the door of opportunity. This is not manipulation, it is respect. To understand how another mind works is to meet them where they are, instead of demanding they step into your frame. Neuroscience teaches us that the brain feels safer when its patterns are mirrored, when language, tone, and rhythm feel familiar. That safety opens the gate to receptivity. On the spiritual plane, it is resonance. Your energy aligns with theirs, making your ask feel natural rather than invasive. So how do you learn how someone thinks? Pay attention. Listen more than you speak. Notice what they repeat in conversation. Do they emphasize results, feelings, stability, or creativity? Watch how they react under stress. Do they analyze, withdraw, or seek reassurance? These patterns are not random. They are a map. When you align your ask with that map, you reduce resistance and increase trust. For example, if your manager is logic-driven, prepare evidence, performance data, outcomes metrics. If they are loyalty-driven, emphasize your long-term commitment and team contributions. If your partner values peace, ask in a calm moment rather than in the heat of conflict. If they crave connection, preface your request with warmth and reassurance. The ask remains the same, but the doorway you use changes everything. Spiritual wisdom reminds us, to be seen is the deepest human need. When you take the time to understand how another thinks, you give them the gift of feeling seen. That alone can turn a guarded no into a thoughtful yes. Remember, asking is not about pushing your world into someone else's. It is about building a bridge between worlds. The bridge is built from observation, empathy, and awareness. People are not mind readers, but they are pattern readers, and so are you. If you sharpen this skill, your words will no longer fall flat. They will land where they were meant to, in the mind of another, not as noise, but as something that resonates. Chapter 7. Practice asking until it feels normal. At first, asking feels heavy, unnatural, even awkward. Your throat tightens, your mind races, and you second-guess every word before it leaves your lips. This is not proof that asking is wrong. It is proof that asking is new. Like any skill, it feels uncomfortable at the beginning because your brain has not yet built the pathways for ease. The unfamiliar always feels unsafe until repetition transforms it into normal. Think of a musician practicing scales, a dancer repeating steps, or a child learning to walk. Each movement is clumsy at first, but through practice, it becomes second nature. Asking works the same way. The first few times may feel like climbing a mountain. You will stumble, overthink, or feel your voice wobble. But every repetition is training. Every attempt is progress. What once triggered fear gradually becomes routine. Neuroscience confirms this truth. The brain encodes new habits through neuroplasticity. The more often you perform an action, the stronger the neural circuits become. In time, what was once terrifying becomes automatic. Your nervous system, too, adapts. With enough practice, the adrenaline rush that once hijacked your body begins to fade. Asking no longer feels like danger. It feels like breathing. Spiritually, practice transforms energy. Each small, courageous ask signals to the universe that you are ready to receive. At first, your energy may quiver with uncertainty. But as you practice, the signal grows stronger, cleaner, more aligned. You begin to vibrate at the frequency of worthiness, and the world responds in kind. Opportunities, people, and resources attune themselves to your steadiness. Start small. Ask a friend for their perspective. Ask a colleague for feedback. Ask a stranger for directions. These micro-asks may seem trivial, but they are not. They are neural repetitions. They are spiritual affirmations. They tell your mind, I can ask and survive. I can ask and be heard. I can ask and remain whole. Over time, escalate your practice. Move from safe requests to vulnerable ones, asking for help, asking for clarity in a relationship, asking for a chance in your work. Each level strengthens your inner foundation. Each level dissolves another layer of fear. Remember, asking is not demanding. It is not about control. It is about clarity. It is about choosing honesty over silence, progress over hesitation. And like any honest skill, it gets easier with practice. The danger lies not in rejection, but in avoidance. The longer you avoid asking, the heavier the fear becomes. But the more you practice, the lighter it gets. Eventually, asking will feel so natural that hesitation won't even cross your mind. It will simply be how you live, direct, open, aligned. This is the secret. Courage is not built in grand gestures. It is built in small, consistent repetitions until what once scared you becomes your new normal. So practice daily. Practice when it feels easy. Practice when it feels hard. And one day, you will look back and realize the act that once felt like climbing mountains has become as effortless as taking a breath. Chapter 8. Say exactly what you want without confusion. Most people never receive what they truly desire, not because the world is unwilling to give, but because they never make their desires known with clarity. They speak in circles. They drop hints. They soften their language to avoid sounding demanding. And then they feel disappointed when others fail to understand them. But here's the truth. No one can meet a need they do not clearly see. Clarity is not arrogance. It is respect for yourself, for others, and for the time and energy both parties share. When you say exactly what you want, you give the other person something real to respond to. There's no guessing, no decoding, no mental gymnastics. Instead of wasting energy trying to interpret your needs, they can focus on addressing them. The root of vague communication is fear. Fear of judgment, fear of rejection, fear of conflict. Your brain tries to protect you by softening your message, I was kind of hoping, or if it's not too much trouble. But this softening often backfires. It waters down the intention behind your words, creating uncertainty and hesitation in the listener. And uncertainty rarely leads to action. Clarity, by contrast, builds trust. When you speak plainly, I'd like to discuss a promotion. I need a day to rest. I want us to spend more quality time together. People feel grounded. They know where you stand. They may not always say yes, but they will always know what you mean. And that certainty is the soil in which collaboration grows. On a neurological level, clarity reduces cognitive load. The human brain is wired to conserve energy. When communication is vague, the brain expends extra effort trying to interpret intent. This extra effort often leads to misinterpretation, frustration, or avoidance. But when your words are direct and unambiguous, the message travels a straight line from your intention to their understanding. Spiritually, clarity is a declaration. The universe responds most strongly to specific signals. A vague intention produces a vague outcome. A clear, focused request shapes energy into form. When you state exactly what you desire, you broadcast certainty, and certainty magnetizes matching opportunities. This clarity must begin within. Many people struggle to articulate what they want because they haven't taken the time to define it themselves. Sit with your thoughts. Ask yourself, what outcome am I truly seeking? What does success look like here? What do I actually need from this person or situation? Once you know, translate it into plain language. No drama, no apology, no fluff. Assertive communication is not aggressive. Aggression disregards the other person's perspective. Assertion respects it while still honoring your own. You don't have to shout. You don't have to explain endlessly. You simply speak your truth calmly, clearly, and without apology. Even if clarity feels uncomfortable at first, embrace that discomfort. It's a sign you are breaking a lifelong habit of hiding behind politeness or fear. Over time, that discomfort transforms into confidence, the deep knowing that your voice has weight, your words have value, and your needs deserve to be heard. And if your clarity drives some people away, let them go. Truth never scares away the right people. It only clears space for those who can meet you with honesty. The moment you stop hinting and start stating, your relationships shift. Your career accelerates. Your decisions sharpen. Because the power to shape your life does not lie in what you wish. People understood it lies in what you clearly express. Say it plainly. Say it with conviction. Say it without fear. And watch how the world starts to respond. Chapter 9. Notice who respects your ask and who doesn't. Once you learn to ask clearly, a new challenge emerges. Not everyone will respect your voice. Some will listen with care, even if they cannot give you what you want. Others will dismiss, deflect, or even mock your request. Their response is more than an answer to your ask. It is a mirror reflecting how they value you. And that reflection matters. Respect is not measured by always saying yes. It is measured by how people respond when they cannot. Do they explain with honesty? Do they acknowledge your courage? Do they treat your voice as worthy, even in disagreement? That is respect. On the other hand, silence, avoidance, guilt tripping, or ridicule signal the absence of it. When someone repeatedly treats your needs as inconveniences, they reveal their regard for your place in their world. The danger lies in ignoring these signals. If you continually stay where your voice is dismissed, you begin to internalize that dismissal. Over time, you may stop asking altogether, shrinking yourself to fit someone else's comfort. This is how self-worth erodes, not through one loud rejection, but through repeated patterns of quiet disregard. From a psychological perspective, human behavior is consistent. A person who disregards your voice once may be distracted, but a person who does it habitually is sending you a message: I don't value your truth as much as my convenience. If you rationalize, excuse, or overlook this, you unconsciously train your own mind to believe the same. Spiritually, this is a matter of alignment. The universe often uses other people's responses to guide you. If someone consistently resists your growth, they are showing you a doorway, one you are meant to walk through and leave behind. When your vibration rises, when you begin asking boldly and living truthfully, not everyone will rise with you. Some will resist because your strength exposes their control. That is not your fault. That is their fear. Notice carefully who leans in when you speak, who follows through after you ask, who listens without making you feel guilty for having needs. These are your allies, the people whose presence nourishes your growth, and who brushes you aside, punishes your honesty, or withholds care when you assert yourself. These are not enemies, but they are not the companions of your next chapter. To protect your voice is to protect your future. You cannot thrive in soil that refuses to water your roots. It is not cruelty to redirect your energy away from those who consistently disrespect your asks. It is self-respect. Respect is not begged for. It is recognized, reciprocated, and reinforced. And here is the paradox. When you stop chasing respect from those unwilling to give it, you free yourself to attract those who already see your value. You begin to walk in environments where your clarity is celebrated, not punished. This shift reshapes not only your relationships, but your identity. You move from someone who tolerates dismissal to someone who requires respect as a condition of connection. Your ask is more than a request. It is a declaration of self-awareness. Watch carefully who honors it and who diminishes it. Their response reveals the truth. Believe it, and then choose accordingly. Chapter 10. Ask often and take action, every single time. One of the biggest mistakes people make is treating asking like a rare event, something to be attempted only when conditions are perfect or when the stakes are high. But mastery is never built in rare moments. Mastery is forged through repetition. If you want asking to become second nature, you must ask often. And if you want those asks to reshape your life, you must pair every request with immediate action. When you ask rarely, your brain treats the act as unusual, even dangerous. It floods your system with adrenaline and overanalyzes every possible outcome. But when you ask frequently, your nervous system adapts. What once felt like a mountain becomes a small step. Over time, your body learns, I can ask and survive. I can ask and thrive. This is how fear is dismantled, not in theory, but through practice. But asking alone is not enough. Words without action collapse into frustration. Imagine planting a seed, but never watering it. The soil may be fertile, the sun may shine, but without water, the seed cannot grow. In the same way, an ask without follow-through dries out before it bears fruit. You must take the next step. Send the email, show up to the meeting, apply the feedback. Try again after rejection. Each action locks your request into motion, giving it the momentum to manifest. Momentum is not magic. It is physics and psychology working together. In physics, movement generates energy. In psychology, action creates belief. Every time you act after asking, you reinforce the story that your words matter and your effort counts. That belief compounds, making each future ask easier and stronger. Spiritually, asking and acting together send a powerful signal into the field of life. Asking sets the intention. Action anchors it in reality. Without action, intention drifts like smoke. With action, intention crystallizes into form. This is how thought becomes matter, through the marriage of clarity and movement. So ask often. Ask in small ways every day for help, for clarity, for opportunity, for collaboration. These small repetitions keep your courage alive. And when the big asks arrive, the promotion, the investment, the life-changing chance, your mind and spirit will already be trained. You won't freeze. You won't overthink. You'll simply ask as naturally as breathing. And when you do, always follow through. Take the step that matches your words. Do not wait for perfect certainty. Do not analyze until the moment passes. Action, even imperfect action, is what transforms a request into a result. The cycle is simple: ask, act, adjust, repeat. Each loop builds resilience. Each loop builds momentum. Each loop draws you closer to the life you envision. Asking often and acting always is not about forcing outcomes. It is about becoming the kind of person who does not hesitate, who does not stall, who lives in motion rather than in waiting. Because life does not reward the ones who merely think about change. It rewards those who declare it and step toward it. One ask at a time. One action at a time. Until movement itself becomes your identity. Chapter 11. Build inner boldness. Cognitive and somatic drills. Boldness does not begin on the outside with a loud voice, a firm handshake, or a fearless presence. It begins on the inside, in the quiet rehearsals between thought and body. Before you can speak boldly to the world, you must first train your mind and body to believe that boldness is safe. The human nervous system is ancient, designed to detect threats more than opportunities. That is why the simple act of asking can trigger sweaty palms, shaky breath, or a racing heartbeat. Your body believes it is protecting you, but in truth, it is holding you back. To break this cycle, you need drills that recondition both thought and physiology. Start with breath. Before a conversation, inhale deeply through the nose for 4 counts, hold for 2, and exhale for 6. This signals to your vagus nerve that you are safe, calming your system and steadying your voice. Pair it with posture priming. Stand tall, shoulders back, chin slightly lifted. Your body posture sends a message not only to others, but to your own brain. The stance of strength becomes the feeling of strength. Next, train your inner voice. The words you repeat to yourself before speaking shape the energy you project. Instead of whispering, "I hope this goes well," practice saying, "I have value to bring," or "this request is fair and necessary." Over time, these affirmations rewire your internal dialogue, replacing doubt with certainty. Add micro-rehearsals. Each morning, look in the mirror and state one clear request aloud. It could be as simple as, "Today I will ask for clarity," or "I will request what I need without apology." This daily ritual primes your brain to associate asking with normalcy, not fear. Spiritually, these practices align your inner and outer frequencies. When your breath, posture, and words vibrate with coherence, the energy you project becomes steady and clean. Others feel that steadiness, often without knowing why. They sense conviction, not desperation, clarity, not hesitation. Finally, practice small boldnesses throughout the day. Ask the barista for exactly how you like your coffee. Request a seat change if it improves your comfort. Speak a preference when ordering food with friends. These tiny drills seem trivial, but they build the muscle of boldness. They teach your system that it is safe, even rewarding, to express what you want. Boldness is not the absence of fear. It is the presence of trained alignment between thought, body, and energy. When you practice these drills consistently, boldness ceases to be something you force. It becomes who you are. And when boldness lives inside you, your asks carry a power that no hesitation can erode. Chapter 12. Energy and resonance. Align intention with language. Words are powerful, but words without aligned energy are hollow. Most people believe that communication is purely verbal, yet science and spiritual tradition both tell a deeper story. Up to 90% of what others perceive comes not from what you say, but from how you say it. The tone beneath your words, the coherence between your intention and your energy. When those elements are aligned, your message lands with weight. When they are not, even the most carefully chosen words fall flat. Consider this. You might say, "I deserve this opportunity." But if your body is tense, your tone uncertain, and your inner dialogue screaming, "I'm not ready," the message you're transmitting is incoherence. The listener may not consciously know why, but they will feel the mismatch. And when energy and language contradict each other, people trust the energy, not the words. This is the essence of resonance, a concept found both in physics and metaphysics. In physics, resonance occurs when two frequencies align, amplifying each other. In human interaction, resonance happens when your thoughts, emotions, body language, and words vibrate in harmony. It creates trust, authority, and magnetic presence. It makes people lean in. It turns a simple ask into something compelling. So how do you achieve this alignment? It begins with intention. Before you speak, ask yourself, why am I asking for this? If your motive is rooted in desperation or fear, your energy will carry that imprint. But if your motive is grounded in clarity, if you believe this ask is fair, beneficial, and aligned with mutual growth, your energy will radiate strength. Next, regulate your emotional field. Take a moment to breathe, center yourself, and connect to a feeling of calm confidence before speaking. Visualize the outcome you desire, and embody the version of yourself who has already achieved it. This isn't fantasy, it's neural priming. The body doesn't distinguish strongly between imagined states and real ones. If you feel worthy, your energy will project worthiness. Pay attention to your nonverbal signals, your posture, facial expression, gestures, and eye contact. These cues speak a language older and more primal than words. A steady gaze, a relaxed stance, a voice that carries conviction, all of these communicate confidence long before your sentences are processed. From a spiritual perspective, alignment is about coherence between the inner and outer self. When your soul knows you are worthy, when your mind is clear about your desire, and when your language simply reflects that truth, your request carries the force of inevitability. It doesn't plead, it doesn't push. It invites, and invitations are hard to resist. This is why some people seem to get lucky when they ask. It's not luck, it's resonance. Their words, emotions, and energy are all speaking the same language, and the world responds to that clarity. Before your next important ask, pause. Breathe. Align. Feel the worthiness of what you're requesting. Believe it. Embody it. Then speak it into existence with a voice that is congruent with your intention. When you do, you won't just be asking, you'll be transmitting a frequency the world is wired to answer. Chapter 13. Timing, context, and the readiness window. Even the clearest ask can fall flat if delivered at the wrong moment. Timing is not just a matter of luck, it is a skill, a sensitivity, an awareness of what I call the readiness window. Every person, every system, every environment has seasons of openness and seasons of resistance. To master asking is to learn how to recognize and honor these rhythms. Think about it. Asking your manager for a promotion on the day of a crisis meeting is very different from asking after a project triumph. Requesting emotional support from a loved one when they are exhausted may backfire, but asking when they are rested creates connection. Timing doesn't change the validity of your need, but it changes the receptivity of the listener. Psychologically, human beings operate with limited cognitive and emotional bandwidth. Stress narrows attention. Fatigue reduces empathy. Busyness creates impatience. If you push your ask into a crowded moment, it collides with those limits and is more likely to be rejected. But when you sense expansion, when someone is calm, available, and resourced, your words land on fertile ground. Spiritually, timing is about flow. Life moves in cycles: expansion and contraction, opening and closing, day and night. An aligned ask is one that harmonizes with these currents instead of forcing against them. Ancient wisdom traditions speak of kairos, the opportune moment when action resonates with destiny. Asking within the readiness window isn't manipulation, it is partnership with the natural rhythm of energy. So how do you sense the readiness window? Observe. Listen not only to words but to tone, posture, and presence. Are they distracted or attentive? Defensive or open, drained or energized? Watch the broader context too. The season of the company, the mood of the family, the moment in the relationship. Readiness is rarely hidden. It is usually written all over people's faces and behaviors. Preparation also plays a role. Sometimes you don't wait for the window, you create it. Share context ahead of time. I'd love to talk about something important when you have space. This signals respect, primes attention, and often opens a door that would otherwise stay closed. And remember, no single moment determines everything. If the timing is off, don't interpret a no as absolute. See it as feedback about readiness. Try again later, adjusted to a better context. The persistence of asking across seasons often matters more than the perfection of asking in one. Timing then is not passive waiting. It is active awareness. It is choosing your moment with intention, sensitivity, and respect. When you master this, your asks stop colliding with resistance and start flowing into alignment. You learn that every yes is not just about what you say, but when and where you say it. The readiness window is always there. The question is, will you slow down enough to see it and bold enough to step through when it opens? Chapter 14. Energy exchange. Why asking is also giving. Most people approach asking as a one-way transaction. I want something from you. But this perspective is incomplete and often self-sabotaging. In truth, every ask is part of an energetic exchange. When you ask for something, you are not simply taking. You are creating a channel for value, connection, and growth to flow in both directions. In physics, energy is never created or destroyed. It is only transferred or transformed. Human interaction follows the same law. When you make a request with integrity and intention, you're not draining the other person. You're offering them an opportunity to participate in a meaningful exchange. It might be the chance to contribute, to feel useful, to collaborate, or to deepen trust. This is why truly empowered asking never feels like begging. It feels like inviting. Think about the times someone has asked for your help sincerely. Didn't it awaken something in you, a sense of significance, generosity, or purpose? That same principle applies in reverse. By asking clearly and respectfully, you allow others to access their highest qualities. You give them a role in the story you are trying to write. This perspective shift also dissolves shame. Many people hesitate to ask because they fear being a burden. But a burden drains, an exchange uplifts. If you are bringing effort, value, sincerity, or intention to the table, if you are ready to reciprocate with gratitude, contribution, or future support, then your ask is part of a balanced equation. The universe itself operates on reciprocity. Inhale follows exhale, giving follows receiving. Refusing to ask disrupts this natural balance. On a deeper spiritual level, every exchange is an alignment of frequencies. Your ask is a vibration, a signal that resonates with those who are meant to support you. Those who cannot match your frequency will ignore it, and that's okay. Their no is simply a sign that the exchange is not aligned. But those who respond with yes are not merely giving, they are joining you in a co-creation. Understanding this turns asking into a noble act. It's no longer a plea, it's a partnership. You're not just saying, "Help me." You're saying, "Let's create something meaningful together." And when you carry that energy into your words, people feel it. They sense that this is not about taking, it's about building. So before you ask, reflect on what you are offering in return. It doesn't have to be material. Often presence, honesty, or shared purpose are far more valuable. When you view asking through the lens of exchange, you no longer shrink from it. You stand tall in it, knowing that you are not draining the world, you are enriching it. And in this way, every ask becomes a gift. It gives others the chance to give. It transforms isolation into collaboration. It turns need into mutual growth. That is the deeper truth. Asking is not weakness. It is the bridge that connects what you want with what others are meant to offer. Chapter 15. The identity shift, becoming the one who asks. At some point on this journey, asking stops being a technique. It becomes part of who you are. The most profound transformation is not in what you request from the world, but in the identity you construct in the process. Because identity shapes destiny. And when you begin to see yourself as the one who asks, your entire relationship with opportunity changes. Most people move through life seeing themselves as passive participants, waiting for permission, validation, or external cues to act. They think, if someone notices my work, they'll offer me a promotion. Or, if someone really cares, they'll reach out. But those who create extraordinary lives don't wait. They initiate. They identify as the kind of person who steps forward, who speaks up, who knocks on doors, rather than hoping they'll open. This shift begins internally. It is not about faking confidence. It's about rewriting your self-concept. Tell yourself, I am not a bystander in my own story. I am the author. I don't wait for opportunities, I create them through my voice. Over time, this belief reshapes your behavior automatically. You start sending the email instead of debating it. You ask for clarity instead of tolerating confusion. You state your worth instead of hoping someone else sees it. Neuroscience shows that identity and action exist in a feedback loop. When you act as if you are a bold asker, your brain updates its model of who you are. And when that identity solidifies, action becomes natural, not forced. You no longer battle hesitation each time. You simply act in alignment with the person you believe yourself to be. On a spiritual level, this shift is even more profound. To see yourself as the one who asks is to step into co-creation with the universe. Instead of waiting for fate to decide, you engage with the infinite field of possibility. Your words become declarations. Your requests become manifestations. This is not arrogance. It is participation in the creative dance of life itself. But identity is built through repetition. Every time you speak up, no matter how small the ask, you reinforce the narrative. I am someone who claims my space. I am someone who values my needs. I am someone who believes my voice deserves to be heard. That repetition rewires the subconscious, and soon asking is no longer a battle, it's a habit. The real victory is not just getting what you want. It's becoming the person who knows they are allowed to ask for it. Because from that identity flows a lifetime of growth. Opportunities that once seemed unreachable become inevitable. Doors that once looked locked become invitations, and the world begins to respond to you, not as someone who waits, but as someone who moves. That is the quiet revolution. The world bends more easily to those who see themselves as active participants in its unfolding. And when you become the one who asks, you stop living on the sidelines and start shaping the story from the center. Chapter 16. Rejection as a sacred teacher. Rejection is one of the greatest fears people carry, yet it is also one of the most transformative teachers. Most view no as a closed door, a dead end, a verdict on their worth. But in truth, rejection is a mirror. It reflects timing, alignment, and readiness, not your value. To master the art of asking, you must redefine rejection not as failure, but as sacred feedback. Think of nature. A seed does not sprout in winter, not because it lacks potential, but because the season is not ready. In the same way, a no is often life's way of saying, not yet, not here, not in this form. When you absorb rejection with grace, you learn to adjust without collapsing. You keep the vision alive while refining the approach. From a psychological perspective, rejection lights up the same neural pathways as physical pain. That is why it feels so sharp. But pain is not the enemy. It is information. Just as the body uses pain to signal adjustment, rejection signals you to pause, observe, and adapt. It forces clarity. Was my ask aligned? Did I express it clearly? Was the timing right? Was the other person in a position to give spiritually? Rejection is a purifier. It clears away illusions, stripping you of attachment to outcomes. Each no releases you from paths not meant for you and directs your energy toward doors that will eventually open. It teaches surrender, not the passive kind, but the kind that trusts the universe to redirect you where your growth will flourish. Consider the stories of those who achieved greatness. Authors rejected by dozens of publishers. Innovators turned away by investors. Leaders dismissed before their breakthrough. What separates them from the crowd is not that they avoided rejection, but that they befriended it. They saw no as part of the initiation, not the conclusion. A practical shift: stop hearing no as never. Train your mind to hear it as not this way or not this time. That small reinterpretation changes despair into direction. It keeps you in motion, and motion is the antidote to stagnation. To treat rejection as sacred is to welcome it into your growth. Each refusal is an invitation to refine your clarity, sharpen your delivery, and deepen your resilience. Rejection, then, is not the enemy of asking, it is its companion. Together they carve you into someone unshakable. When you stop fearing no, you become unstoppable. You no longer crumble at closed doors because you trust that the right ones will open. You understand that rejection is not a punishment, but a redirection, a cosmic compass, pointing you closer to where your true yes lives. And in that moment, rejection becomes not something you dread, but something you honor. A teacher, a guide, a sacred ally on your path of asking boldly and living fully. Chapter 17. Aligning your ask with your purpose. There is a profound difference between asking out of impulse and asking from purpose. Impulsive asks often arise from fear, ego, or comparison. They chase validation or instant gratification. Purpose-driven asks, on the other hand, are rooted in clarity, alignment, and long-term vision. They carry weight because they are connected to something larger than the moment. When you ask from purpose, you're not just seeking a thing, you're building a life. Each request becomes a stepping stone toward a deeper mission. This changes the energy behind your words. People can feel when an ask comes from insecurity versus intention. The former feels needy, scattered, and unfocused. The latter feels grounded, powerful, and inevitable. The first step is to know your why. Before you ask for anything, a promotion, a collaboration, a chance pause, and ask yourself, how does this align with my values, my growth, my contribution? If the answer feels shallow or disconnected, it may not be the right ask or the right time. But if the request serves your deeper purpose, it will resonate not only with you, but also with those you speak to. Science shows that when actions are linked to intrinsic motivation values, meaning self-actualization, the human brain sustains effort longer and overcomes obstacles more easily. Asking is no different. Purpose fuels perseverance. It gives you the resilience to face rejection, the patience to wait for the right timing, and the strength to keep refining your approach. Spiritually, this alignment is even more profound. When your ask resonates with your soul's purpose, it carries a frequency that the universe recognizes. Opportunities seem to coincidentally align, doors open with less resistance, and people appear who are meant to support your path. This is not magic, it is resonance. Like attracts like, and clarity magnetizes opportunity. Purpose-driven asking also protects you from misaligned yeses. Not every offer is meant for you. Without a clear purpose, you may accept opportunities that drain your energy or divert you from your path. But when you know what you're building, you recognize which doors are truly yours to walk through and which are distractions disguised as blessings. Here's a practical method before every major ask. Write down the answers to 3 questions. What larger vision does this request serve? How will this help me grow or contribute? What will I do if the answer is no? If you can answer these honestly and confidently, your ask is likely aligned. And aligned asks have a different kind of power, not desperate, but determined, not pleading, but purposeful. The greatest asks in life, those that change careers, build empires, or heal relationships, are not random. They are deliberate, intentional, and deeply connected to who you are becoming. When you align your asks with your purpose, the universe stops seeing you as someone chasing approval and starts treating you as someone fulfilling a destiny. And from that place, your words no longer beg. They command, not in arrogance, but in resonance, because they speak not just for your present needs, but for the future you are meant to create. Chapter 18. Speaking the language of value. One of the most overlooked truths about asking is this: people don't just respond to what you want, they respond to the value you communicate. If your request is framed only around your need, it may sound like a favor. But if it's framed around the value you bring, it becomes a proposition, a mutually beneficial exchange. And propositions get more yeses than please. This is not manipulation. It's psychology. Human beings are wired to make decisions based on perceived benefit. When they hear an ask, their subconscious immediately asks, "What's in it for me? How does this matter to my goals, my values, my time?" If your words don't answer those questions, even a reasonable request can be dismissed. So before you ask, shift your focus from, "I need to," "Here's the value this creates." For example, instead of saying, "Can you mentor me, try?" "I deeply admire your expertise, and I believe your insights could accelerate the project I'm working on, which aims to solve a challenge in your field." Instead of, "Can I get a raise?" say, "Here's how my work has improved revenue and customer satisfaction, and I believe an updated compensation package would reflect that impact." Framing your ask in terms of value does 3 powerful things. It shows awareness. You demonstrate that you've considered the other person's perspective, which builds respect and trust. It reduces resistance. When people see how your request aligns with their goals or interests, they're more likely to collaborate rather than oppose. It elevates your presence. You stop sounding like someone asking for permission and start sounding like someone contributing to a shared mission. From a scientific standpoint, this is linked to the principle of reciprocity, a cornerstone of social psychology. When people perceive that they are receiving value, even intangible value, like respect, growth, or contribution, they feel a natural pull to reciprocate. Your ask activates that instinct. On a spiritual level, speaking the language of value is about alignment with abundance consciousness. Instead of approaching the world as a beggar seeking scraps, you step forward as a co-creator, offering substance. This mindset shift changes your energetic signature. You're no longer saying, "Give me something because I lack." You're saying, "Here's how we can both grow by connecting." And that vibration attracts far more opportunity. Here's a practical framework you can apply to almost any ask lead with context. Here's the vision problem or opportunity I see. State the mutual value. Here's how my request creates benefit for both of us. Make the ask clearly. Would you be open to specific action? This formula works in business relationships, negotiations, and even casual interactions because it speaks to the universal human desire for meaningful exchange. When you communicate value, you elevate your ask from a request to an invitation. And invitations are harder to ignore. They awaken curiosity. They spark possibility. They transform the dynamic from giver and taker into partners building something together. And ultimately, that is the highest form of asking, not extracting value from others, but creating value with them. Chapter 19. Consistency. The bridge between asking and receiving. One bold ask can open a door, but consistent asking builds an entire life. The difference between those who achieve sporadic wins and those who shape extraordinary realities lies not in talent, luck, or timing, but in their ability to show up again and again, even when nothing seems to happen. Consistency is the invisible bridge between intention and manifestation. Most people underestimate how long it takes for the universe and the human world to respond. They ask once, face rejection or silence, and retreat. But success is rarely the result of a single moment. It is the accumulation of repeated effort. Each ask is like a drop of water on stone. One drop changes nothing. Thousands of drops carve rivers. From a neurological perspective, consistency rewires the brain. The more you practice asking, even in small ways, the more your neural pathways strengthen around courage, clarity, and resilience. What once felt uncomfortable becomes instinctive. Your self-concept evolves. You stop seeing yourself as someone who tries and start seeing yourself as someone who persists. Consistency also changes how others perceive you. People respect reliability. When you continue to show up calmly, confidently, without desperation, they begin to associate your presence with commitment and credibility. And credibility often precedes opportunity. Many doors don't open the first time because trust hasn't been built yet. Persistence builds that trust. Spiritually, consistency is an act of faith. It is a declaration to the universe that you believe in your vision enough to keep showing up for it, even when results are invisible. Every repeated ask is a signal of unwavering intent, and intent, when repeated with conviction, bends reality over time. The universe does not ignore persistence. It responds to it. However, consistency is not the same as stubbornness. Blind repetition without reflection leads to frustration. The key is consistent evolution, showing up again and again, but with improved clarity, timing, and value each time. Think of it like tuning an instrument. Every attempt brings you closer to harmony. Practical ways to build this habit. Set a daily or weekly ask goal. This could be one professional request, one opportunity-seeking conversation, or one small boundary you articulate. Track your asks. Keep a simple journal of what you asked for, how you framed it, and what the response was. Over time, you'll see patterns and refine your approach. Detach from outcomes. Your job is to show up and speak. The universe's job is to align the results in their own time. Remember this truth: consistency compounds. It transforms tiny, seemingly insignificant actions into unstoppable momentum. One conversation leads to another. One no leads to a better yes. One door closes so that a bigger one can open. The people who change their lives are rarely the ones who got lucky on the first try. They are the ones who kept asking long after others gave up. They turned asking into a rhythm, a ritual, a lifestyle, and because of that, life eventually had no choice but to respond. Keep showing up. Keep asking. Keep aligning. Because the moment you stop is often just before the moment everything was about to shift. Conclusion: the art of asking as a way of life at its core. Asking is far more than a skill. It is a philosophy, a way of moving through the world with courage, clarity, and consciousness. It is the bridge between desire and manifestation, between intention and reality. And it is available to you in every moment if you choose to embrace it fully. Throughout this journey, you've learned that asking is not weakness. It is strength. It's not selfish, it's necessary. It's not a disruption, it's a declaration. To ask is to stand before life and say, I am here. I have needs. I have value. And I am willing to claim the space that belongs to me. But mastering the art of asking is not just about outcomes. It's about the transformation that happens inside you along the way. You will discover that asking teaches you to trust yourself, to believe in your worth, even when the world does not immediately reflect it back. It will teach you patience to understand that timing and alignment matter as much as intention. It will teach you resilience to face rejection without losing faith. And it will teach you humility to surrender control and trust that the universe is always working with you, never against you. When you integrate asking into your life, you begin to move differently. You stop shrinking in rooms where you belong. You stop silencing your needs to keep others comfortable. You stop living reactively waiting for permission and start living deliberately shaping your path with intention and choice. Imagine a life where you ask without fear, speak without apology, and pursue without hesitation. A life where you do not hide from possibility, but reach for it again and again, knowing that every ask is a step closer to the reality you are capable of creating. That is the life you are meant to live. And remember, the universe does not respond to silence. It responds to signals. Your voice, your intention, your willingness to step forward. These are the signals that summon opportunity, align circumstances, and awaken destiny. So go ahead. Ask boldly, clearly, and consistently. Ask not just for things, but for the life you dream of. Ask for the chance to grow, to serve, to become. And when fear whispers that you're asking for too much, answer it with the truth: I am worthy of everything I seek. Because in the end, the art of asking is not just about getting what you want. It's about becoming who you were meant to be. And that transformation begins the moment you open your mouth, raise your voice, and dare to speak your desires into the fabric of reality. The universe is listening. The question is, will you speak? Thank you for listening with an open mind and heart. If a certain chapter or insight resonated most with you, share it in the comments. You might help someone else find exactly what they need today. Keep this book saved so you can return to its words whenever life calls for reflection or guidance. I wish you health, peace, and wisdom in every step you take.